Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Grassi and I have a wonderful show planned. But before we get to our guest, who's a really talented creator, it's Wiz Wednesday. You guys know that. So let me give you a quick show of this week's Wiz, which remember you can follow at the Wiz Comic, which you can see on my screen here. So let me share. And I'll give this full screen for a moment. All right. So that was Wiz Wednesday. That is, you can follow on Facebook and Instagram at the Wiz Comic. I also want to just make an announcement for those who don't know. This is Michael Reeves, or was Michael Reeves. He passed away on the 20th. He was a well-known writer in the cartoon world. All the cartoons that I grew up on. Dungeons and Dragons, Batman the Animated Series, Black Star, He-Man. He contributed stories to them. He wrote for the shows. He wrote for a lot of shows. If you look up his IMDb, and his name is spelled Reaves. All the great episodes were written by him, in my opinion. Every time there's an episode that stands out to me in any of those cartoons, you can find his name on there. And I know I talk a lot about artists who inspired me. Growing up, I used to draw, record cartoons, play them back, and pause it on the TV and draw what I saw on the TV. But those artists who helped develop my style and what I love, to draw, they were bringing his stories to life. So it's sad to hear that he's passed, but he's left his mark, and we can watch him, on DVD, on YouTube, on streaming services. So yeah, check out his work. It's Michael Reeves, Reaves. All right, let me stop my share and bring on tonight's guest. He is a creator. He is he's a writer. He is an artist, an inker, very talented inker. But enough of me talking about who he is. Let's bring him on. His name is Enrique Lopez. Hello.
Oh, hello.
How you doing, man?
How we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. And you go by Quique, right?
Art by Quique, yeah.
Art by Quique. That is your company. I'm going to drop. Can I drop your? Why am I blanking on the word here? Your link tree.
Yeah, go ahead. Man.
I'm going to drop that into the comments here, so you guys can at any point in time check out his work, follow him on Instagram, Facebook, check out his convention schedule. You're on the Comic Professional Directory, Twitter. You got, are you still doing your podcast, the inking?
Not like I said, it's been kind of in a hiatus lately. Mostly because it's like when I did it originally, which was during COVID, it was to be able to connect with friends and fellow creators and keep that convention feeling going on, which is like basically when I would do shows, you would look to your right and left and meet new people. So I started doing that with the inking thing, and we went through 3 seasons of it. I did like a truckload of almost 100 shows.
Wow.
The thing is that the reality is that finding time for all these guys and gals to get on is also tough. There's not as much audience as it used to be, mostly due to that people have other things they can do now. They're able to go out and do other things. And so I've just been keeping it on the down low. So whenever they'll come back up eventually when I have more things to promote and things to do, like because we'll talk about a little later about some of my plans for 2024, 2025, which will include obviously bringing that back at some time.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I was on your show once, and I had a lot of fun hanging out and talking with you. And Get in Tune really started the same way, pandemic during 2020, and it was because I missed talking with artists. Whether I was at shows or just hanging out, going out for lunch or something with friends of mine and talking art. And I've outside of some time I've taken off for health issues, I have. I think I've hit 100 shows myself, maybe now. I don't even know. I have to look, but I
mean, people can still watch my show. I mean, you can go into my Instagram account on the Instagram TV. You can see some of those shows on my Facebook art page and on my regular Facebook art page. You can still see them on the videos. There's still a lot of stuff. I mean, it's always good to go back in there. I mean, a lot of these, when you look back at what we did at that time, it was like really fun to like learn the mistakes we did. But a lot of it, you can see a lot of these artists who were just starting out at that time, and now they have all their other stuff going on. You can see this is how they started and they began. And it's funny that for myself, it's also been a journey. That when I began doing that show, I was just doing inking almost for myself, and now I'm doing it professionally with other people, including some top artists and stuff. So it's like things go on. So it's always good to look back every once in a while. And there's a lot really good shows there. There's one with Becky Fuller was really good. Let me see. There was one I did an interview with Dirk Manning. That was great.
Oh, that should have been cool. I got to go watch that. I didn't know.
That one could have gone on longer, but he was like on a really tight. He had committed himself to 2 shows almost simultaneously, so he had to cut mine a little shorter. But it was like one of those are great experiences. John Ottinger was on it. A lot of local artists were on here. Michael Gerlich. I mean, Tom Travers. It's just a great amount of people were able to come on the show. Larry Stroman had a show with me. Keith Williams was on. Mark McKenna was on at one time. So, it was a nice little time. It was a nice time there. So
That's nice. Yeah. I have to go back and watch a couple of them then. Now and when I look down, I don't know if you remember my Cintiq's in front of me. That's the monitor I used to read off of. I'm looking at another one when I look at you, so I'm not ignoring you when I look down. But for those, before I get into some of the stuff that I want to talk about from your link tree, which you guys, the links in the comments. For those who don't know that are watching, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What kind of work you do, how you got into this?
Well, many years ago, back when comics were really mostly at the newsstand, I began in this business. I started back in the 80s, back in high school. I always enjoyed doing artwork, mostly writing. Back then, it's like unless you had a friend or a neighbor or somebody close by who could either draw for you, you had to do it all yourself. So I started doing my own stuff back then. Never been formally trained. I've never taken an actual art course and stuff. And I went to college and I wanted to go into the art area, but my parents decided, no, you need to make money. So I started as an accountant. And then I actually ended up as a marketing person. So when I left marketing, when I left to work at an advertising agency, I was able to meet all the fellow artists. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. So I now can involve other people. And actually we did, one of the artists who worked with me, actually he and I wrote, and then he drew and I inked a small proposal for a Punisher versus Batman. Even before Marvel and DC had come up with those amalgams and other crossovers, we actually had one in which the villains were the Kingpin and the Joker, and it had it all crossed over really nice, but nothing came of it. I kept plugging at it until the 90s, trying on and off while working in advertising and stuff. Back where I lived there, where I used to live at that time was in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, the Caribbean island, there was not really any comic book stores. There were just very few. At that time, the only convention we ever did back then was one year. I think it was in 92. 92. This comic book store brought me, and along with myself, the only artists that of those three, the three of us were myself, Dave Sims, and Jeff Smith from Bone.
Wow.
So, and these were just when they were. Cerebus was still had gone already a few issues, or he was the most recognized independent there. And Jeff Smith had just he had just done his first trade paperback of his, so he was still in infancy, man. I actually still have a picture of that, and I sent it the other day to Jeff. I was like, "You remember this?" He goes, like, "Oh, when we had hair and we were young, yes, we were young." And that was great because I connected again with that. That's the funny thing about all these years later. I reconnected with Jeff through a Kickstarter I was doing, and I sent him to him. So I like, "Hey Jeff, I don't even remember me. We were at this show together, and I got this Kickstarter, and I said I would love to get a blurb from you and about the stories." And he read them. He was like, "Bro, this is great." And he gave me a good blurb, and we used it on the campaign.
That's fantastic.
People were like, "You know Jeff Smith?" Yes, of course I know Jeff Smith.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I geeked out a little bit when you said his name. Inside.
So basically, I took a hiatus because it was in '93. I came to New York, and I presented to Dark Horse a concept for a series I wanted to do through them. Now, this is when Dark Horse was actually exploring going beyond the licensed titles of Alien and Predator, and they started doing these like the Bob Wire and Ghost by Alan Hughes, and all these other books that were like creator-owned kind of stuff. And I thought, let me get in here now, Dark Horse, because Marvel was not touching, DC wasn't. So I'm like, let me try to get into Dark Horse, and I presented to them a big proposal. I still got copies of it up there and they were like, it's really ambitious what you want to do, but it's not what we want to do at this time. And so I go, okay, well, whatever. So basically at that time I said, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to waste my time anymore with you. So I kind of stopped. And dedicated myself to the advertising. I've won awards and back in Puerto Rico, we don't have the Clios, but we have similar awards, and I did a bunch of campaigns for beer and banks and stuff that won awards. There was one award we won. The sign I did for a bank, in that at this time it would be so much easier to do today, but back then we had to create some of the ideas by doing airbrush illustration. You couldn't do it if Photoshop was in its infancy, so it was not possible to do some of the stuff we were doing. So we actually had to be illustrated to give that the effects we wanted. So it's always funny when I look back at how many all the youth today complain about some of the stuff, and I'm like, man, back when I was doing this stuff, we had to pay stuff to it.
I entered the industry when people were still doing pay stuff, but in the process of transferring to computers. So I worked in graphic design. I worked for magazines, newspapers, and I had a job at a newspaper. I think my exact title was electronic digital imager. I used to run ads that came from other designers outside the newspaper through a test print to make sure it printed okay. Then, maybe how to repair the ad if it wasn't. But then I would be doing some hand stuff too at the time. It'd be like, got to make color keys, got to make sure they align, so I did a few different things, and I worked for a couple of places that were like that.
Well, I can tell you that I worked at a time that you would send the type to be done at another company.
Oh wow.
And then sent back to you on sheets.
Yeah.
And then they would cut those sheets out and put it up on and you had to be sure the sizing. You had to decide what the sizing was going to be and send it to him. I wanted 10, whatever point. And then, heaven forbid, there's a typo. because then you got to start looking for letters. Okay, what letters can we use?
Yeah.
And started refix them and stuff, or photocopy and putting them on top. That was a totally different time. I mean, like today, you just go undo and then no.
I know. You
That,
know,
I mean, we won awards for menus we were doing. I remember when we would have to do those type. That type was so tiny at times. Like, oh my god, how are we going to do this one? So it was an experience. So back in 2018, well, 2017 actually, when we moved to New York, we had just moved to New York in 2014, and then my youngest daughter, was into sewing and doing her own stuff, and she was starting to design her own cosplay. So there was, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2017 or 2018. I think it was 2017. 2017, the cast was coming. The voice cast of Voltron was at New York Comic Con.
Cool.
And she loved that show. So she actually sewed and did her own jacket for the character Lance, because she liked the character so much. She wanted to take a picture with the character, the actor who does the voice. So she actually did the actual jacket. She did the whole thing. She sewed it and everything. And I remember when the actor saw her, he was like, "Oh man, cool jacket. Where you get it?" I was like, "Oh, I made it." He goes, "What?" It was very detailed. But then it started to come out to the point that she started looking at enjoying more the design aspect of drawing than actual sewing. So she thought maybe she should go into drawing. And I go like, well, if you want to do that, I got to take you to show you how this life is. This life is not easy. So I took her to a bunch of shows, and I took her to like the first one we took her to was, I think it was WinterCon.
Okay.
And at that WinterCon, I bumped into, let me see, the first person I bumped into was Billy Tucci. And we talked for a while. He was saying, "Why aren't you out here?" and stuff, because he kind of remembered me from a convention many years in the 90s. I was like, "Dude, your memory's too good." Wow. But and then I bumped into Paris Collins, who did a great job in sitting down with my daughter. And then he told me, "You should get back in this." And, "Oh, you're crazy. I don't want to do this again." Then another show, I bumped into Mark McKenna. And he was saying, "Well, dude, why aren't you doing this stuff? You know, get a table next to me, man. Just set one up. We'll do it. You know, just do it."
Yeah.
So eventually, you started doing some stuff, and then I got Paul Abrams sent me some pieces to ink, and then I inked those, and then Zach Dolan, rest in peace, buddy. He passed away a few years ago. He sent me a piece of that he had done and penciled for a Kickstarter of Link. And I said, "Can I ink that?" And he said, "Sure, go ahead." And that puppy came out so well, it is now my signature piece. Everybody,
yeah, I was going to say that's the one that's even on your banner, right?
Yep, that's the one on the banner. That's the one everybody recognizes. I'm the Link guy, like they say. So it's easy. Look for Link. There he is. There. So, but that'll change in the future, and we'll talk about it a little later.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, so from then on, I started doing stuff and doing it for fun. Like I said, I was trying to get into doing things for other people, hadn't gotten any chances, and then so little by little, I started doing the anthologies, and then boom, 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 and there we are. You know, it's been like 4 years now, and I've been published a bunch of times, and it's all good.
It's packed away. I thought I had it unpacked, but I have one of the anthologies you worked on, the Not So Fairy Tales.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, man. Fortunately, that one came out really good. We were hoping to do a number 2, a second edition, but right now that is in, I don't know, hiatus and stuff. It's the nature of the beast. You know, people commit to a project, and then I would say we have at least half of the people involved are really, really committed, well professional people, maybe more than that. And then unfortunately, there was a group that didn't fulfill their duties, and we can't go. I've been telling them, look, let's just get some new people. So we're evaluating it. So because my piece is done, you know, but and it's this next issue was going to be of Fables, and I already got my story. It was illustrated by Ben Worrell. He and I worked on on stuff before, and I did a variant cover for his book, Bladeshot. And then, because I did that work for him, he came back and then he helped me with this this work. So he drew it very loose. It was actually, it had some pages were really strong, but other ones were like nicely loose. Because I told him, don't worry about it, I'll deal with it myself here. And then what I did with that one, I wrote, inked, and colored it. I colored that one. But that one is a very monochronic color. I didn't want. It was one of those things that I was just playing with some ideas, and then my daughter sees it. She goes, "You know what? What? I like the way. Are you going to keep adding? Oh, I'm just getting some tones in." You go like, "But it looks good like it is right now." Like, really? So I actually did a few pages in that monochronic style, and I showed it to the editor and other people, and I said, "What do you guys think?" And they were like, "Is this what you're going to do?" Yeah, that looks really cool, man. That is totally different from everybody else. And I'm like, okay, then that's what we're doing. So if we don't produce it under the fairy tales, not so fairy tales, it'll come out under one of my books or something eventually. Because too good of a story. It's too good of a story not to show up. So, and I mean, the work was done, and I have Carlos Mangual is the letterer. He does all the stuff for Marvel and DC. So it's a good story. It's called The Pit. The Pit.
It's called what?
The Pit. The Pit. It's a sci-fi story. So
nice.
It's basically like last year was like my sci-fi year because when I did Horrendous, it was an homage to Alien for me. And then so I designed the astronauts for the story I did with Ben, The Pit, and then I liked the way it looked. And I'm going to use this one for my story over here. So I ended up using that, and so I had to tell Ben, you got to change it. I already used the style. You got to change it over here, make it a more slim look over here and stuff. And that's great because lately what I've been doing a lot more of is really trying to get more writing, becoming more, because I believe that's where my real center is in getting stories done. And I got so many stories in my head, and the problem is the time it takes me to write them all down, and not just write them down right.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that they can write 15 scripts in a night, and I'm like, well, they're going to be 15 crap.
Yeah.
You can't do that, and I think it's an insult when I hear people say that. No, you need to be writing all the time, but there has to be a professionalism to it. And I'm already trying to hire an editor to help me keep the focus of where it's going. Not to like run the stuff with other people. I can do that. I'll keep on top of the artists and stuff. But because of my whole plans are going to involve so many things, I need somebody who can, whoa, you're going too far left. Whoa, you're going to go right here. Keep it centered. Keep it in the road. You're going off track. Because I'm going to be running with so many different things, and the whole concept is that I'm probably going to need 2 or 3 editors at one time.
No, I was going to say I'm actually right there with you. I since I started working, like I'm going to say my life is kind of nonstop art these days. Before and after my 9 to 5, I do. I have way too many ideas, but unlike you, where you are focusing on writing, I feel when I focus on writing, I actually get nothing done. I feel like I'm spending too much time trying to make a script perfect that I'm not getting to the art. So all I'm now really writing down is plots and a little dialogue if I feel I need it. And I'm kind of going in just, okay, I want this story to be 8 pages. And I just start, laying out some pencils and, like just playing around with some ideas. And I find, even though I haven't finished a comic yet, I have been able to get out so much more art. So things are now, because now what I do is after I draw out, whether it's 2 pages, 8 pages, whatever, I take my time, I let it sit for a little bit and say, okay, is the story good? Does everything make sense? What do I give it like a week or so, maybe a little longer. I go back to it, and then I'll start fleshing it out and inking it out. So I'm producing a lot more, I find, with less writing than I do with when I actually write scripts. But I'm right there with you, like with tons of ideas. And,
No, the
and just
thing is that for me, it depends on the artist how I gotta approach the story as to the script. For example, when I worked with Ben, he was the last one guy I did work with. I basically told him this is the premise. We have 10 pages. All right. And I told him these are the beats. You got that? Okay. So this is what I need to see. This is, and I gave him like a small plot line and storyline. Pretty in this case was actually pretty clear. And from there, he started working it out. And then once I approve the final art, then I actually sit down where I'm going to put the dialogue in. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There was another stuff I did in that the artwork came out good, but I needed more space than he gave me. So next time I work with him, this other artist, I'm going to be more, okay, leave this space, leave this area, because even the letterer was like, dude, I can't fit my words in there. I know, figure it out, man. Figure it out. Carlos, get your ass. What is it? You work for DC, man. You figure it out. So, it was a little tough, So it's like learning everywhere. But but then again, I work with other people like Matt Buttich. He was like, give me exactly what you want. Panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4. This is what I'm going to look at. This is here. Stuff is really a lot of freewheeling, man. I'd go like, let me see when I hit the page and let's see what happens. When I just if I'm drawing it myself, there's no thought. I just let it flow and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it worked. Let's go. Next one. Once in a while, I'll hit something and I'll go like, this isn't good. And I'll have to go back. But most of the time, if I'm doing it all, it's just like, let's see how it flows out and then we'll work around it. Everybody's different, and so I've learned to work with a lot of different talent, and it's fun, It's also part of the process, So
no, exactly. I mean, I'm in the process of talking to some people about certain work, but I've noticed specifically for me, and I've said this before, and I've probably said this to you. I've always considered myself a comic strip guy over a comic book guy. My background is more in strip, like in my art education and the stuff I really truly love. So like when I approach pages now, I approach them in strips. So all this stuff that I'm doing, I remember one of the lessons I learned about doing story strips is leave them on a cliffhanger, make them want to come back the next day. If I was doing like a daily comic strip, you can want them to come back and pick up that newspaper tomorrow. So my thing is, it doesn't matter how many panels I have on the page, as long as that last panel is going to make the audience want to turn the page or, come back or whatever. I'm writing correctly. That's how I attack it. So, but anyway, man, let's get to some of the stuff. Do you mind if I show some of your published work off your website?
Yeah, right.
Because
let me show this real quick. Actually, this is the only most recent thing I've been doing, This gentleman, Sean, he does this show called Cooking with Stupid. And he asked me a while ago, because he does a lot of charity work. So he says, if I could do a sketch cover for one of his and for charity and stuff. And I said, sure. And now is that I'm actually starting to work on it. I'm going to give it to him next month. So this is my preliminary pencil. So I'm doing it on this right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to give you the screen so we can see. Ooh, very nice.
Well, this is what I'm working on right now.
I love it.
So there you go. So
that's very nice.
Fire away.
Yeah, let me share the screen here. I want to look at this because, man, your work really is fantastic.
Yeah, that was the variant cover for the booby book, like I call them, that one we made a ton of money. I mean, that sold really well. That one sold really well. It's the first issue of 6, so I'm really happy for Ben and the rest of his crew. That came out good.
That's nice.
Oh, this is the cover I did for
Codename Hunter.
Yeah, I look at it now and go, oh my god! It's like it's so many years ago. That was done a while back. I look at it now and say I would have changed a whole bunch of stuff, but it was good for the time at the time. So I'm now the official inker for the book. I'm inking issue right now, number 4.
Nice.
And I'm also working on Soul Eraser for the same company, Triple Threat. So
cool. I also just love the name of this one here, Ameri-Kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
This is.
That was a variant cover I did.
Yeah.
I actually did that one live. That was during the ink show, Inking with Quique, that I did that. And then he liked the way it came out. That he said, "Can I use this as a cover?" I go, "Sure, man."
Nice.
So he actually ended up doing that one.
I like it. And this is the Not So Fairy Tales.
Yeah.
This is. I love that. I love that. That's the cover, right?
Yep. Yeah. That was I think that John Enfield did that one, if I'm not mistaken. The cover.
Of this, the Not So Fairy Tales. Yeah. And then this is from
what's the comic called? I wonder which one. I don't know which one he's calling.
I don't know. There's been a lot of different comics we went through. I'll scroll back up so you can see all the names, Dylan. I'm sorry. So this is Jacko.
Yeah, that you'll see in the future. That's one of the stories. That one I did. That one was with a gentleman called John. His name is John Muller. Absolutely fantastic artist. He's right now. He is kicking ass, to use that expression. His style has improved so much more since we did this. That one was colored by Sigmund Torre, who did Raven for Marvel, and lettered by Carlos Mangual, who also worked on the Teen Titans in that one. Nice. This one over here is Social Speculum, which is that was one that I had to do all the artwork in that one, and that the artist I had for that one disappeared on me.
And this was the one in Not So Fairy Tales, yeah.
Yeah.
This was a great story.
Those 3 are in there on the Not So Fairy Tales, yeah. That's one issue. I actually had 3 stories in the number 2. I was only going to have 1. They kind of cut me off. But this one was actually drawn by Matt Bladeshot, and he did 7 pages in there, and then I did the final 3 because of the twist at the end. I wanted to illustrate the twist part. So
yeah.
Then Mythology, which is next, in that one, my daughter and I actually collaborated on that. Andrew Russell wrote the story, The Hummingbird, and I remember on this book he was rushed because I met him through Not So Fairy Tales, and he was desperate to help somebody help. So I told my daughter, let's work together. So what I did is that I did all the breakdowns. At that time, my daughter wasn't keen on how to produce a page. So I basically did all the page work and layout, and then she drew on top of them. Okay. Because she's a digital artist, so we scanned them, and then she went over them, and then I ended up doing the backgrounds.
Nice.
So, yeah, and I illustrated the first and last page. I did that. That is based off a fountain here in New York, in one of the parks.
Okay, yeah. Very nice. Now this Gunmetal Black Ops.
Yeah, that's I just did a pinup in that one.
Okay.
That's a book from I don't remember the creator's name right now, but they asked me to do a pinup, and I did. I think I included the next picture. I think it's the next.
Is that no, that's not the one I was thinking of. I was gonna say the Gunmetal, is that the one I used in the ad?
No.
That was the guy. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. And then that one we'll talk about in a sec.
Yeah. Okay. So this was the pinup to Gunmetal Black Ops.
Yeah, that's funny because I actually used a photo of a palm tree and everything behind it. Worked around it, so made a nice little composition there.
Nice.
So give that a little feel there. So.
And these are some sketch cards you did.
Yep. And actually, there's a new sketch card set coming out soon. So
from Rusty
Inks, yeah. That I'm really proud of. Those came out really, really nice. This actually came out really good too. These are dinosaurs. I was very happy when they told me it's dinosaurs. Good.
Yeah. Well, the other one I know I know Rusty, and I talked to him, quite regularly. So I know that the sketch card, but I don't know if he announced it, so I won't announce.
Yeah, I don't think he's announced it yet.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean, it's been announced, okay, but we don't know when it's. If you look at my Facebook page, it says I'm an artist for Rusty and for the new set, so it's there.
I've drawn. I'm sorry. I was just going to say I've drawn for Rusty too in the past. I worked on some of his Mac and Trouble back in like 2011, 2012. No, 2012, 2013, like that time frame. I did some of his Mac and Trouble stuff, which I love drawing those cats. I gotta say, just drawing cats in general are fun. And this Horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
This is another.
Already, I was looking. We're getting old stuff now.
But I'm just going back. But this is a
anthology. It's done by John Muller. That was a horror story in that one. That one came out also during COVID, I believe.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we got
nice
local New Jersey artists that we just do that stuff. I like this one because actually that panel on that first page, I actually drew that 11 by 17.
Really?
Yeah, originally was 11, and then I just inserted it because what I did is that because it was so large, I was able to do these on the bottom. That zoom was actually the actual size. So if I would have done it that small and try to zoom, it kind of deteriorates. So it distorts. So I did it that way. So when that actually the front one is actually the full size, and then the top one, which actually reduced. So it actually packed in.
Wow.
Back in advertising, what my specialty was doing that renderings for buildings. I used to do the illustrations for brochures that were used for concepts for people to buy homes and apartments and stuff. So I was always doing those. That's what I enjoyed doing. I had one time thought to become an architect, but then I said, wait, it's 5 years study. No, I'm not doing that. But so yeah, it was one of those things that I wasn't great with physics. So but I enjoyed doing these drawings. So I still got some of my pieces are actually out there somewhere in this studio that I did back then that we won some awards on. So
no, it's very nice. I'm doing a thing with a house right now, and I hate drawing houses. I might have to steal kind of some of your ideas.
That house is actually based off the house we're in right now.
Oh, really?
My wife was not happy that I did use our own house. He goes, "What?" Well, she actually told me that it looks nicer than the one we live in. We go like, nicer. I made some adjustments to it, so it's like this is supposed to be. Well, this is the house we should live in. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
but now we're moving to a better place, so it's going to be better. So
great. And this is from Carnivorous, and then here's Stupendous.
Yeah, Stupendous. That was my very first published work.
Nice.
And that was a story that was only 6 pages long. And originally, the story I was going to put in there was going to be very, very dark. I prefer to draw stuff that's in talk uncomfortable themes sometimes.
Yeah.
And because we're in COVID, because the situation of the world was, John, who's the editor, begged me, can you do a new story? I said, dude, everything's almost ready, man. How much time do I got? No, you don't have a lot. Just do whatever you can.
Yeah. So
I decided to do this other story in which that first panel there is my homage to the first Batman movie.
Okay.
And then there are a lot of homages in this. And so I decided to do a story in that I could play around with it. There were so many mistakes done in this. It's just incredible when I look back and go like, my God, I could have done this better here, and there. But some pages you can see like the inky is like on this here is like a little bit of Bernie Wrightson in there. There's a page I call the Will Eisner page, which is like a full action in one full page. You see a lot of action going on, and it falling through the same scene. There's an Art Adams references. There's some Neil Adams reference. The thing is that I ran into time crunch, so I talked to a friend of mine, Eric Hernandez, who's the creator of Soul Eraser, and I said, Eric, I need help. I said, what? I got a page here I need help on. Can you just do some rough breakdowns, and I'll do my own. I'll ink over it, and I would tell him maybe in 30 minutes, I had a full page ready.
Nice.
And I was like, really? And I made him. I asked him to do one quick switch, and I said, don't worry about this. I'll do this over here with the computer. And then I was like so happy with this. I said, well, I could use the help on the next page. But yeah, with the 5th page, and then I finished it with the 6th. So he got credited in that book as well. So so now he and I are working on Soul Eraser. So
nice. That's great, dude. Your work is fantastic. I really like it a lot.
And we still haven't seen some of the better stuff that's coming down the pike. So it's like, so we'll see. One of the things there's a book that Kickstarter that it's not on here. I don't believe I've set it up yet because it hasn't been published yet. You can see the Fletcher Cross. I did a 1-pager in there. There's a book called Might, Magic, and Monsters in Law. It got funded through Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And
is it on here? I thought I saw it.
No,
yeah. No.
I don't think it is. No. And let me see. No, I don't think I've had it. I don't think I've included it yet. But that one is good because it's going to have a lot of stuff going on in there. In that, unfortunately, Stupid Kids got canceled. Not canceled. They didn't fund, so we're going to rego with that one. So
did that happen to be because of the title, or?
No, it was just the nature of the beast, man. It's like once in a while you go in and Kickstarter is too packed in, and it's only a 2-page story what I did in there, and this is also with a good friend of mine, Carlos Mangual did the lettering, but it's Joe Critelli did the illustration, and this is one that I actually had to tell him, panel 1, panel 2, this is the stuff, and he did a great work with it, but like I said, that story I can always publish it in another book of mine or something later on, and there was actually a second story I was doing with Len Danovich that it was a horror story part. So we'll see. But anyway, you see, you got there, the conventions are up there and stuff like that. So
yeah, we're gonna look at that in a moment. But go ahead.
So the Might, Magic, and Monsters in Law. It's a book coming out from Alan Bay. He's an artist from Singapore, and he put together a whole bunch of us involved in this project. And the book is ready now. It's being sent out as we speak to the backers. But the important thing that my story in there is about these 2 characters, and they're and one of them is a mentor to the princess. And at the very end, there's this character that shows up, which is the character you actually have on my ad. Do you have it up there? You can put it up.
I got to pull it from the images you sent me. Did you? Did you email that to me? Or did you send it through Facebook?
I think it was Facebook. Yeah.
You sent through Facebook. Okay, let me just pull up Facebook. I'm gonna pull up a new page real quick here, so you guys aren't looking at my Facebook.
I sent it through there. Actually, the cover of the Might Magic is also in there.
Okay. What's going on? Why can't I see?
Anyway, if anybody you can go to my link tree. The link tree will take you to all this different stuff. You can find it. You can always leave me a message if you're interested in anything. I always bring all these books with me to the shows. Eventually, I've been so busy with the move, so I haven't been able to set up the web page. But there will be an Art by Quique Studios page. I already have the domain name. Everything's set. All I got to do is put it up, and you'll be able to purchase all the books through there. Prints, everything you'll be able to get it through the website as well, if you can't make it to any of my shows. So
awesome. Yeah. Okay, let me stop the share real quick. I'll share Photoshop again. Stop share. Right there. Okay.
There you go. That's the cover for My Magic and Monster Lost. So the character, I got the center spot. That's my baby.
This one right here.
Yeah, that's the character. That's the character in the book, in the story. That's
Mm-hmm.
Princess Lorian. She's a princess of this Ren territory, and this world is called Gallon. And the thing is that this is a world that I created back in 1982.
Wow.
I wrote a story that I sent into Fantasy magazine and was not accepted at the time, but they did give me a lot of pointers, and they said that, you got something here. So it didn't involve her, actually. It did not involve her at all. She's a character I created many years later. I actually ended up writing 3 novels for that. And but those novels were actually stolen or thrown out in my frat house, or something happened. I've always claimed that the Game of Thrones is actually my book, and they actually stole my ideas, but they don't believe me. But anyway, the thing is that it had a lot of those themes and stuff, but the main story was called To Kill a King, and that's the one I sent in for consideration. And there was a character in there named Bolin Hinchcliffe, and that's the character that makes a cameo at the end of the story. So it took 40 years, but for the first time, a character I created is going to show up in a book.
That's awesome.
So where we go from there? Well, this story was actually supposed to be bigger, but they only gave me 10 pages, and Joe did Joe, who you saw the other picture, he actually did this illustrations as well. He could not fit all the action I wanted. He tried, but that's part of the reason why the letterer was saying there's not a lot of space. Part of it is my, because he tried to put so much of the action in this small spacing, and then it was really hard. So my hope is to eventually expand it a little more. Let me see if by any chance, I don't know, I'm going to take this off here, because I know, let me see if I can, because I'm not the one.
If you need to share something, I'll stop the share.
No, let me see if I can do it. Let me see if it's possible. Let me see.
It'll ask you if there'll be a thing that says present or share.
Okay, wait a minute. I want to make sure it's up. Where is it? Let me pull this up. Once I pull it up, then I can. There we go. Let me see if I can do it now here real quick. Let me see now. Share. No, that's good. No, not. Let me see. There we go. Your browser just blocked your screen. No.
Oh, then you're not going to be able to share it. Then I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me try it again. Here. Let me see. Share screen. Share again. Let me see if I can pull. Yeah, here we go. Boom.
Okay. I'll wait till it pops. I have to wait till it pops up here on my end.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
So, it's going to be seen on the show. There we go. So, basically, the whole idea is in 2024 or in late 2024, I hope to produce this book, which is called Chronicles of Gallon, featuring Bolin Hinchcliffe, in which we'll see that story expanded and more stories with this character and other characters of that saga. Yeah. So my whole idea is to give people a nice little taste of what the story's about before they actually give them the full story. Now this, I gotta do a shout out. Let me make sure. I want to make sure. Let me open this over here with this. I don't want to make a mistake in the name, because his name is kind of interesting last name. So let me open it up here. There it is. Okay, this logo was designed by Darren Wiltshire. I wanted to get his name right. Okay. He does a lot of work for other bigger companies, and he's a letterer and stuff. And he's been very gracious in helping me design these things. So I came up with the idea, and then he improved on it. So that's one of the things I always hated doing logos. So, sitting down and getting it done, it was always a lot of work for me. So sorry about that. I took that off.
No, it's okay.
So he helped me design that logo. He actually helped design my studio logo. So nice. And he's helping me with other logos of other projects and stuff. So we'll see how it comes up in the future. That's Bolin. So it's interesting how Joe interpreted my description. It's not exactly the way I envisioned them, but it's very, very close. And I like the way it came out. I said, yep. So that's probably going to be a banner coming up soon. It's going to be one of the banners now. So people are going to say, what's that? That's my character, man. So it's funny that after 40 years, now it's when it's going to show up. And this was not the one I presented to Dark Horse. The one I presented to Dark Horse will see it light of day as well. I can tell you that the artists I have we have agreed on right now to work on it together, will blow people away because he has done some fantastic work in the past, and I think he's absolutely the best artist for this book. Whenever we come around with it, like I said, it's going to be little by little stuff coming up.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have another book published through Amazon by September.
Nice.
That's to have artwork of mine and stories and all that kind of stuff. And then in 2024, we start seeing some of this come up, depending on how the market is and stuff. Because right now, because I have a master's degree in marketing and business and all this kind of stuff, I'm very vigilant about what's going on. And I see people like crash and burn or do other things, and they're not working the way you would hope. And I'm thinking, wow, where's the risk? Where's the going on? So everything's being evaluated. So, like I said, at the end of the story in the book, in the anthology, it says, "Prepare to see this in Chronicles of Galen in 2024." It may be 2024, maybe 2025. I don't know. It all depends on how the market's working, and if everything goes. Because I don't want to put anything out there until it's 100% ready. I don't want to be that, because some people do. Most of the time I've worked on Kickstarters, the job's done when we go online, and I find it to be it's better for the client, better for the buyer, because all you're doing is waiting for it to be printed. You're not waiting on artwork or letters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff that I bought on Kickstarter 4 years ago, and it's still not produced.
I know.
And sometimes they're actual top quality people. I'm not going to name names, but there are artists out there that just life gets in the way. And then I go like, it's the downside of it, because I believe if somebody paid it now, you can't hold it off for a year. I mean, certain circumstances like when COVID happened affected things across the board, and I get that some of that stuff is still affecting some of the supply lines. But in reality, man, it's like I see some people go and they wonder, well, why, if we sold so many of issue number 1, are we not selling as many as issue number 2? It's because you took a year between issues, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes that, people are used to, the more casual people are used to going to the store and picking up the same time, a new title every month. Next month, the next issue, next month, the next issue.
Yeah.
So you hold off for a year, like maybe my interests have changed in a year. It was interesting for me a year ago, but now, not so much. So I'm trying to avoid some of those pitfalls and see how I can pull it off. I mean, I admire some of the people who are consistently putting stuff out there on an incredible clip. But when you look at it, you can see that the reason they're doing it at an incredible clip is that they already got a pipeline going. That their first year, they maybe put 1 out. The second year, they put out maybe 2. The third year, now they're up to 3 or 4. Why? Because everything's like rolling, So I can't expect to, like in my first year, put out 5 titles and go like, really? I mean, if I want to do that, I could, if I've done all the work. So that's what I mean. 24, 25, it'll all depend, because anything I'm going to put out will be ready. From the point that funded, put it out. Funded and put it out.
Yep.
And see how it goes, man. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I wish you a lot of luck with this. I mean, it looks this what is it called? Chronicles of Galen looks.
Chronicles of Galen, featuring Bolin Hunch, yeah.
Bolin, how do you say his last name? Bolin what?
Hunchcliffe.
Okay,
No,
I'll wait till I see it again.
That is a mouthful. Yes, it is. And the thing is, that's funny because Bolin, I used to use that name when I used to play these computer games. Remember, I don't know. This dates me a lot, but I don't care. Zork and all these other like games that you would put your name in. I would put Conan in, but then I said no, I can't put Conan for my character. But I thought Bolin. Hey, there you go. It's pretty good. That's pretty close. And then the Heinz was there is I saw some writer whose name was Heinz. I'm like, okay, but then then I saw some Clive. Somebody else had a Clive after. I think it was a last name. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, that sounds exotic. Listen,
it's a great name. It really is. I actually had, oh God, when I think I was in 8th grade, I started creating my own superheroes, and I needed a secret identity, and my cousin gave me a name for a character, and the last name was Bolin. So like I never really hear that. So like I've actually taken that name and brought him into another thing where he's not a superhero anymore. I just always loved that name that my cousin came up with.
Well, there was another series of novels that were out at that time, which I was obviously before. There was another, like I said, there's another character I created, which had a lot of inspiration from those, and those novels were the Mac Bolin series. So there it is again.
Yeah.
Bolin again. So a lot of these stuff came from that area online. So I used to read a lot of Alistair MacLean books and Green, and obviously a lot of Stephen King and stuff. So Ken Follett back then as well. So I mean, I actually had a story, and I call it a story. It was actually almost like a novel that I wanted to make like my own version of the French Connection, and I had a whole thing set up. And it's funny looking back at how simplistic I was trying to make it out to be.
Yeah.
But in there's some stuff that I can say, well, nowadays I could do something similar now that I have a little more knowledge. But it's the funny thing is that when I look at the story that I wrote in 1982, and the character you see in Bolin here and the other characters, and it's so much different. In 1982, I was 17. Yeah, 17. Obviously, very little of life experience and stuff. Now, when I went back to him to rewrite and get stuff working for a more modern time, I go like the sensitivity, my sensibilities, my way of viewing the world, being a father of 2 daughters, married to a very beautiful woman who's strong in her own way, and it's hard to be writing certain things like I used to. I'm like, no, that doesn't apply anymore. So this story with this princess reflects some of that inner strength that I did not ever write into females back then.
Yeah.
The females were like the damsel in distress. Though, to my own knowledge, the character, one of the princesses in the main story, is very powerful, and she is very strong as a character because she was her. I took a lot of influence, influenced by Princess Leia of Star Wars. Very strong-willed woman. So I was like, yeah, let's do something like that. So I mean, hopefully when I pull up hopefully when people get the book in their hands, I will have some copies. I'm going to have some copies. I purchased a few more for myself so I can have them at shows of the monster. Because I'm going to sell it like it is. The first appearing of Bolin. This is if you like. Eventually, the character may blow and become big, and you never know. You never know. So that will be its first appearance, and I think we only did maybe 200 copies, 100 something, and not that many. So very limited out there. So
nice.
So if anybody wants to pick up a copy at a show, let me know. So there are very, very few of those up there. So we'll see, man. Hopefully, it'll be seeing something more of that in the future.
Yeah, no, listen, dude, that sounds it sounds great. It sounds like you're on the right track for you. You've taken your time, but you've hit a path that you're following, and you know, it you're you know, it sounds like you're going to be creating your own titles for a while now, and
we'll see, man. It's like like I said, when I got published in 2020 under the Stupendous and Horrendous brands, that was like for me a kick in the head. They finally published, and I can now say I've been published as an artist. And then when I did my first cover, and I got a cover now, and I've done 2 covers, done 3 covers, and now I thought, okay, so now I'm doing a whole book now. It's like, okay, we keep adding into things. So obviously the next logical step will be to produce my own stuff, and I've been doing that most of it. But like I said, man, it's like in a few of these shows I'll be doing, I'm going to be running into some very important people, so I'm going to be handing some of this stuff out.
Go for it. I mean, listen, you got a great convention. I think did I minimize or accidentally close out? I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was looking at your convention schedule. First of all, you'll be at the White Plains show in May, on May 6th, which is Free Comic Book Day. Have you done that show before?
Oh no, I have not. I didn't really Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, I will say this to you because I won't be there. It's a nice show. It's probably going to be the last in the place because that mall is closing. But just put a sign on your table that which if you have anything for Free Comic Book Day. I always tell people whenever they do a Free Comic Book Day show to make sure people know your books are for sale and not for not for that. But yeah, I mean, listen, you're going to be at a lot of great shows. But May 6th,
that White Plains, I was invited, and I'm going to be doing the judging on the stories.
Okay, cool.
People doing their comic books and do little comic book stories. And I'm going to be one of the judges. So
nice.
For me, that's on Saturday, and on Friday, then on Sunday, I'll be over in Queens doing Forest Hills. Then I'll do Phillipsburg the week after that. Yep. And then I'm doing for the second time, the Trenton charity. Last time I was there, last year, it was my first time. It was the first time they did it. So I did it last year, and it was a lot of fun to do it. Then from then I take a small break, and then I'm off to the big ones. I hit Heroes. I hit Heroes in Carolinas, and then do Garden State here in Jersey, which are 2 big shows back to back.
Garden State's a great show.
Then I take a small break again, and then I do Springfield for 2 days. Then I hit the big one again, Terrificon.
Terrificon, yeah. And then you go all the way out, wait out until September.
Yeah, I take a big break.
Yeah,
and I take a big break and then September I do ZapCon, and then I do our next big show because I do it every other year. It's the Cincinnati Comic Expo. I'm always a guest at that show.
Nice.
And then New York, and then I finish with Lehigh Valley. And I might add something along the line. I mean, there's stuff I'm always looking at, but I'm not making this to sound arrogant or anything. But the reality is, this year, because of costs and stuff, unless I'm not an invited guest, I'm really not doing that many stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like Terrificon, I'm not a guest, obviously, but I'm doing it every other year. So last year I didn't do it, so it's this year. But like for example, I was trying to get into one in October as a guest, didn't get in there as a guest. Then the tables were all sold out. Well, oops, that's such is life. In November there might be a show for me. In August there is a show I'm looking to see as well, but. After doing Terrificon, that is such a big show and it takes 3 days. I usually take August off, and then September is Baltimore as well in Granite State. But Baltimore, I mean, it wasn't a great experience for me. And at the time, I mean, I know people who live and die with it, but for me, I don't know. It's just the same. I mean, there's some people who say I don't do that other show, and they're good for me. So
I Baltimore I've never done, but I've heard good things about it. And
me too. Let's be honest. I went to Baltimore because everybody told me it's like better than doing New York. It's blah blah blah. But like I said, the year I went was the first year back from COVID, and I think the main problem was they didn't get the regular room, and then the layout was not that great.
well, I get that.
There was the process of getting people inside. It took people 2 hours to go through the line to get inside because of the checking of the COVID.
Yeah. I completely understand.
And when you have only you spend 2 hours to get in, then where are you going to go? You're going to go to the vendors first, or maybe some of the bigger guns, and then by the time they get them in, there's not much left. So it was just, and then on Sunday there was a Ravens game, so there was no parking anywhere.
Yeah.
So some people couldn't park to come to the show. So it was just one of those things that happened. And this last year it was on Halloween. I was like, no. So, and this year they're doing it before New York, but on 9/11 weekend. So I'm like, okay, but I don't know. But when you think about it, Baltimore is really close to DC. So, but anyway, it's just look, I can't go to all the shows. And right now this year, like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more writing, a lot more working. So I need a lot of gaps in there. So I can have time to do some of the work and prepare, because this year is a lot of branding. It's going to be a lot of branding, a lot of people. Hopefully people see me there, and getting them. I need to build up an email list. And so when I do launch anything, assuming I do that, I'll have, I want to be able to tell people it's coming out. This is what's coming out. Build it up little by little. So when it's actually going to come out, I would love to have 1,000 people waiting for the thing to come out, and be awesome. Usually when I promote stuff, we usually get about 200 people on my books and stuff, and so usually about half of those usually buy. So if I can get a lot of numbers in front, it'd be great. I don't compete like the idea I gotta sell this many. I just want to be able to get the people to actually read it, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if they do, well, we may do more. If they don't, well, it was nice. It'll exist in the world, and we'll see where it goes from there. So. But like I said, the plans are big, and I've been very fortunate that all these years of working with people and interacting with them, I already have a lot of people committed to help. Committed. They're interested in doing it. Obviously, we all got to get into the point of the financials, time. But since a lot of this stuff I've said is going to be done, it'll be done when it's done, and then we'll put it out. I'm not going to be like, well, if this is not ready, then I'm going to do it anyway. No, I want to have everything set up, and people understand that. So, like I said, I don't want to go into the details. This is my own little trade secret, but after doing analysis of what I'm looking in the market, I think I have a good idea. So we'll find out eventually when I put the first one out there if it's actually right or wrong. So, you can't be scared to fail, because it's just learning what not to do. So
exactly. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up right now. But I want to first of all thank you for coming on, talking to me about this stuff. I always find it interesting. I love what you're putting out. I love the stuff that you're telling me you're going to be putting out. So I'm looking forward to it. I would love to have you back on, actually, because I didn't realize how big of a background in marketing you have, and I'm going to be doing a marketing show in April or May, and I'd love to have you back on for that if you're available, and talking about that. So
asked by many of my peers, especially the people I've worked on in these anthologies, is that because they see how I work to promote the books I'm on and the success we have with them. They've been saying, and also like when you look at where my pedigree is, and my level of stuff, and you would think like why is this guy getting invited to so many shows and stuff? And it's like, there is a secret, I'm not telling, but people have been dying me to say, do a seminar on how to get invited. No, when I retire, I'll do it. Yeah, you can do it. But no, it's all in the idea. So you got to sit down and do some legwork. Some people, if you go back to when I started actually along with Keith Williams. Mm-hmm. Keith Williams and I basically started doing cons almost at the same time. He started maybe a month before that I did. And in 2019, we did 36 shows, something together and stuff. That was a massive amount. And he does one almost every week.
Yeah, I know.
I see his heads. Yeah, he's almost everywhere. But the thing is that when you go back and look at where he started and where he is today, there is a track you can follow. It's like, why? Well, he's being seen. Other people are seeing him. He makes a connection. Then all of a sudden, this promoter brings him to this show with what gets him seen by this other promoter. Then gets this guy to call him. Yeah. And then he goes. Then all of a sudden, he used to be doing these little shows. Now he's doing these shows. Yeah. And I will sell this like this. He did last year the Cincinnati show.
Next.
Yeah, because I got invited to the Cincinnati show. Mm-hmm. I did it last in 2021. And when I told Keith, this was a good show, you should try to get in there, but he won't do his own promotion. So the Dave who runs the show in Cincinnati he actually came to promote the show in C2E2, which was in December of 2021 in Chicago. And when he came over to my table, I introduced him to Keith. I said, hey, Keith, this is the guy you got to talk to. And then he got invited to the show the next year. I'm going, there you go. So it's unfortunately, he and I are on opposite years because the way Cincinnati works, he doesn't like to bring people every year the same way. He flips them over. So I come in one year and he brings other people the next year and stuff. So if you're a local artist, he'll bring you every year. But when we come from out of town now, and I like that to some degree because I think some people need to miss me. So when I come in, they'll go like, "Ooh, he's got new stuff." I mean, that was one of the troubles I had in 2021 when I was doing 36 shows. Is that people who would see me because they're all in the same area, it was very hard for me to have something new every week. So I was doing prints every week. That's why I ended up with for 50 to 80 different prints in my catalog because I needed to have something all the time for people to look at. And I learned my lesson. No, we're not doing that anymore. So I haven't done any new prints this year. I'm planning on maybe doing a few of the, for example, is this were to come out nice, I will probably end up doing it, blowing it up and maybe doing another version of it. But I'm taking a lot of my sketch covers and scanning them really well and then doing some highlights on it to create them as prints because I see Keith do it too. He takes an illustration, he did it even with his own Copics and he puts it as a print and he sells them. We're like, well, hell, if you do that, why do I have to pay? Why am I going to pay a colorist? Let me try to do this way and save myself some money here. Yeah. And so I'm going to give a few of these covers that I really like. I did a good Spawn Gunslinger. I did an homage to the Punisher cover. I got a really good one that I did of Spider-Gwen that did effects with the rain and stuff on her. So I'm thinking, those are all me. Most of my illustrations are my inks, but this would be all me. You see all my illustration. You see me drawing it, inking, and coloring. So I think people need to see that so they can say, that's what you're doing. But which is what I need to for now. Let me see this. I'm gonna have these little cards now on. You can say what's nothing on it, but it's gonna be what I call a story card. So story time card that people can I don't know what the price is gonna be. I'll ask them 5 questions, and based off of those questions, I'll write them a personalized story for them. So I'm gonna have these things set up. I'm gonna have my sketch card. 6 by 9, yeah. And it also, what I want to do is have it on the table. This is what it looks like if you buy pencil. This is what is pencil and ink. This is pencils and grays. This is pencils and inks and color. So leave it as a sample, and people can say, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." Fine, and so people can see that I actually illustrate because most of the time they think as an inker we're not artists, and we kind of are. I mean, you can see people like Scott Hanna, the watercolors and stuff he does. Even Keith now. Keith, you can see it. Mark McKenna. You can go to other artists and they inkers. They do some great stuff. Great stuff. But the thing is that they became inkers because that's where they landed in where they started. But they all began as artists. Inkers just happen to be the thing that they say, how are you going to get in? Oh, I need an inker for this. Can you ink this? Yeah. And then they got pigeonholed in there. But so that's something I'm trying to get out of there. People say, but you're a tracer. No, I'm not.
Oh man, I hate that Kevin Smith film because of that. How everyone references inkers, and I know they did it before the movie. He just brought it out, but everyone just references the movie and it bugs the hell out of me.
But you know what? It's funny sometimes. Today Mark McKenna put up a post of the inks he did on a Kevin Pollard Micronaut cover.
Check that out.
And he's talking about that particular cover. He was his very first inking job, and the reason he got it is because he happened to be talking to he wasn't sure if it was Ralph Macchio or who it was, the editor of Micronauts at that time. They were not happy with the way Kevin had done the inks on it. They were not happy at all. And they said, I don't like this. So he says, well, I'll do them. He says, fine. But they got another artist, and I can't remember the name of the other artist, to lightbox the original sketch.
Wow.
And then from that lightbox version, Mark inked over it. So that's the point is like, look at that. You could call it tracing, but even the pencil, the pencils were actually traced. So and does that diminish anything before? No, because the reality is, why make the other artist redraw it? It was already there, But nowadays they wouldn't do that. They would go like, "Oh, just give us the original pen, erase the inks, get some new inks on top," on the digital side, and it'd be all different. But back then, no, you got to redo the whole damn thing. So.
No, I know. I've worked for companies where this is pre-digital as a regular practice, where I would have to take photocopies of the pencils and re-ink over them, because the inker, but it wouldn't be the whole page. It'd be, well, they messed up the house in the background. I have to fix it or something. And I would do that and then cut and paste and put it in to the image or something, so there were, it's a regular practice. It's just
even this year, what I did was I did the illustration on a separate paper.
Yeah.
And I lightboxed my design over it on it because that way it reduces the amount of erasing I'm doing. Yeah. So I do all the testing on something else, and I go over here and you're like, okay, this is the shape I want, this is the way everything, and go in there. Sometimes I have time to do that because this has no due date. I can do that and get it done that way. Other times I got to go straight on, and it goes like, here we go. So, so we'll see. But anyway, man, thanks a lot for having me on again.
Oh yeah, anytime, man. I always enjoy chatting with you. I'm just going to drop you backstage in a moment, but I want to again thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing everything. Once again, I'm going to just in case you came late, can't see it in the comments. And once again, I'm going to drop in your link tree into the comments so people can find you and follow you and check out your stuff.
Yeah, like I said, if anybody wants a commission, contact me through anything in the link tree. You can find a way to contact me through either the Facebook, Instagram. I'm all, like I said, if you're in any of the areas where I'm doing a show, mention that you saw me on this show. You may get a little something extra in your little goodie bag if you purchase something from me or not. And if not, just come and say hi, man. I'd like to know when people have seen me and enjoy talking to fans and everybody. And like I said, I do these shows for fun and meeting people, and hopefully just getting some people to enjoy some of the stuff I enjoy doing. So
sounds good. All right, man. Hang out backstage for a moment, and I'll talk to you in a sec.
Okay, man.
All right, thanks. All right, guys. So that was tonight's show. Really check out his work. Go deeper into what I've shown you guys just on here. It's just the tip of the iceberg. He's got a lot of great stuff. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and every place. Go to his link tree. Enrique's got some awesome stuff, and he's going to be doing a lot more great stuff. I'll have a new guest next week. Check out, look out for the ad. I have a very interesting April plan. So this is the last of. Is this the last of March? I forget. No, wait. Today's 22nd. I have one more day in March. I'm sorry, you guys. I'll be back next week with my last guest in March, and then we'll talk April. All right. I will see you guys later. You have a great rest of your day or whatever you're watching. All right. Talk to you soon.